Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to a best of 2025 episode of Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful and book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the absolute loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in this mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Amazon Music, Player FM, Audible, Boomplay, Ghana. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We're taking a listen back to some of the amazing conversations we had in 2025. We'll be hearing from Ziggy Marley, Tamron Hall, Aria Mia Loberti, Christina Perri, and our first guest coming to us from beautiful Australia, Anh Do. Tell us about Wolf Girl, please.
Yeah, so Wolf Girl, Jed, so, you know, we got a little girl. She's maybe 7, 8 years old. She's sleeping. And it's early morning, maybe 4 a.m., and her mum wakes her up and says, "Gwen, wake up, sweetheart. We have to go right now." And little Gwen has no idea what's going on, but she wakes up and her older sister, mum, dad, they're all packing the car full of stuff, and then they just have to leave home right now. They hit the open road, and there's just miles and miles of a big traffic jam because everyone's trying to get out of there because the country's being invaded, you know. And so I wrote that, and then I realized that when I was a little kid, my mum woke me up when I was 3 years old and said, "We have to leave now." And I get on a boat with my family and 30-something other Vietnamese refugees, and we're on a 9-meter fishing boat, Jed, just 9 meters. There's 40 people. We're at sea for 5 days, and we get attacked by pirates twice, and they take everything. The pirates even take the engine, Jed. Oh. But here's what happens, right? Here's what happens. As the pirates are leaving, there's one pirate who mum and dad guesses might have been only 15 years old. Like, he's a bit younger than the other guys, and he was less aggressive. And as the pirate boat is preparing to leave, and they have everything they've taken everything from us, including the engine, this one guy feels sorry for us, and he throws us a gallon of water. And that water saves our lives because we've been out of water for a couple of days. And that 4 liters of water, we share that between 40 people, and it keeps us alive for another couple of days, and then we get saved by a big merchant ship who takes us to a refugee camp, and then we end up in Australia. So that's my story. So then I'm writing this Wolf Girl, and suddenly all of these stories from my parents and my family, it kind of seeps through, you know. So Gwen she leaves with her family, and they run into the forest, and then Gwen slips and knocks her head, and she's out cold, right? She gets knocked out. When she wakes up, her family she can't find her family anywhere. There's no humans anywhere. But there's a bunch of dogs. Over the next few days, she meets a bunch of dogs who have left with their family, and they're lost. And so her and this bunch of dogs and a little wolf puppy become family. And so this little girl lives with these dogs for about 3-4 years. And so she's quite, some people have compared Wolf Girl to like Tarzan, but instead of monkeys, you got dogs, like really cute dogs, like a Chihuahua and a Labrador, you know what I mean? And a wolf puppy that grows into a huge wolf. And so Wolf Girl is like this girl that goes through the forest, and then once she's a little bit older, she decides, "I'm going to go look for my family." So they re-enter civilization, and they go on this massive adventure to look for mum, dad, and sister. So that's what it's about. It's about a little girl lost with a family of dogs, and she goes looking for a family, and they go on all these awesome adventures.
Well, that's amazing, and your story of escaping from Vietnam is also amazing, and I think I might want to circle back to that later on, but isn't it wonderful that you could take that moment in your life when your family was, desperate to save your life and their lives, and turn it into a story that brings joy to kids?
Yes, yes. What I found is that kids, kids love all of it. They love the adventure and the thrill. And Wolf Girl's about looking for mum and dad and missing mum and dad. And every kid can, even if you've not escaped war, you might have just spent a couple of nights at school camp and you miss mum and dad, So the missing of family is a very real thing that kids connect to. But it's not all, a lot of my books, and even in Wolf Girl, there's a lot of humour, Jed. And again, I draw from real life. So I remember growing up very poor, and I got to have a birthday party when I turned 8. And I said to my mum, "Hey, Mum, can I have helium balloons like Jono had at his party, the ones that float up to the ceiling?" And my mum said, they're pretty expensive, son, but I'll try my best. So my birthday comes around, Jed. My mum, she buys normal balloons, blows them up, and then sticker tapes them to the ceiling. so she's thinking that's what's exciting about it, the fact that it's on the ceiling. So me and my friends take these balloons off the ceiling, and we're trying to do the helium voice with these balloons. And my friend turns to me and goes, "My voice is not changing at all." And my other friend goes, "This helium smells like chicken curry, man." and I'm there trying to pretend. I'm there going, "Nah, it's working for me." Because I want them to think it's for real. And then I got another friend. He goes, "Oh, yeah, it's working now." So I put so much of my own real life into my stories, and my family, just like my family from my mum and my uncles, and they all grew up during the Vietnam War. So they have amazing stories. And so that's in my blood. And then as a kid, I loved Roald Dahl and Walt Disney, and they're my heroes. And so I've written over 100 books for kids, over about 12 series. And yeah, my dream is to create another world like Marvel. It's a dream, but why not? You got to dream big sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And one of the things that, as I was researching for this interview, there's a saying that you said that you live by. There's now and there's too late.
Yes. My father. Yeah, my father used to say that. We basically we survive this thing at sea. Like there's estimates that 500,000 to 1 million Vietnamese perished at sea. So we consider ourselves very fortunate to be alive. And so I was raised by my mum and dad, and they said, "You know what? We were spared. We're lucky to be alive. So let's make this life worth something, And they didn't do it in a heavy way. They were just, my dad used to say, "Just give it a go and see what happens. Give it a go, kids, And the truth is that he probably had some PTSD, Jed, and so he left the family when I was 12 years old, my father, and I missed him very much. And I didn't see him until I was about 22, 23 years old. So he made no contact, It was kind of like he just disappeared, and he was dealing with his own issues, because he lost three brothers and his own dad in the war. So you can imagine what that does, And so I'm writing another of my series called Ninja Kid, and all of a sudden Ninja Kid is looking for his dad. And I'm not writing these things thinking I'm going to put my life in there. But suddenly the Ninja Kid's gone he's looking for his missing dad, and I went, wait a minute. My own life is really, it's come out again here, and that's okay, I think kids really get that when there's something real, there's something real in the story. I think they feel it, and I think that's why the kids enjoy my book so much.
Oh, well, absolutely. it's interesting. I've had a number of people who survived escaping from their country and living in refugee camps. And I think a lot of people would think, oh, that's so hard. They're so terrible. The rest of your life, you must be just focused on all that suffering that you experience. But I find the opposite is true. All of the people that have been on the show that lived in refugee camps for years are so happy. And they just like,
isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting, Jed? That is, because if you're grateful just to be alive, then you're already winning. You know what I mean? It's already, you're already like, this is all right, And then from there, let's see what we can make of this life, And so, my kids grow up and I tell them stories of my family and so they love story. They love story. And in fact, I sit down at dinner and I put my stories through my kids and see how they react. So get this, Jed, I sit down at dinner, I said, kids, Dad's got the best idea, right? And I tell them about the Wolf Girl idea. And then I said, and the title is called Dog Girl. And my daughter says, Dad, that's terrible. You can't call it that. And then so I go, really, is it? And then she goes, yeah, it's terrible. So then we brainstorm a little bit and we think, you know what? Wolf Girl is so much better. And so we take out one of the dogs and we stick a wolf puppy in there, which is also much more interesting. And Wolf Girl is born. So I have to thank my children for that little tweak that will make all the difference to how popular this series is. And by the way, I've sold more than 10 million books around the world and over 1 million Wolf Girls just in Australia.
Wow, that's incredible. We have a lot of authors and aspiring authors listening, and I'm sure a lot of jaws have just hit the floor hearing it. Our conversation with Anh Do first published May 18th, 2025. You can find that by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the button that says listen to all of our past episodes here, and then use the search tool up at the top of the page. Really enjoyed my conversation with Anh. What a genuinely, sincerely nice guy. He gave me a tour of his house. He showed me his beautiful view, and of course, shared his wonderful story with us. Next up, my conversation with one of my all-time favorite musicians, Ziggy Marley. Join us right now from beautiful Los Angeles, California. Our guest is here today to celebrate his beautiful picture book. It's called Pajamin. Please welcome to the show, Ziggy Marley. Hey, Ziggy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you on. Pajamin, this book was inspired by your dad's music. Am I right?
Yeah, musically speaking. Yeah. Like the rhythm and the energy,
Yeah. Tell me about the book. Who are we going to meet in the book?
Yeah, meet a family and friends and a dog and pillows and, all type of things. Yeah, it's about getting together. A pajamin is a different thing than a regular party. It's more, pajamas fits differently. So you feel more free, more loose. And it's about kind of like leaving the outside world outside and just creating your own world in your own environment, having fun and enjoying each other.
I love that. Yeah, that's such a fun time. I remember when my kids were young, we would just love to kind of have that pajamin feeling going on. Put on some music, play, wrestle, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, you've been creating books and also music for kids. Is that because you just love being a dad?
Yeah. I love being a dad. I love kids. My youngest is 9 now, and they inspire me. They keep me young. They keep me my imagination going. I'm not jaded by my age, so it's like I still have that youthful mindset that I can tap into, and they are a part of that. And just watching them and having the experiences with them, it's inspiring,
Yeah, absolutely. My kids are a little bit older now, 29 and 32. But their dogs keep me young. We don't have any grandkids yet, but we have grand dogs.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah. Hey, your dad was such an icon, but if you haven't figured it out, we're talking to Bob Marley's son, Ziggy Marley. He was such an icon. What does it mean to you to carry his traditions on through your music and through a book like Pajaman?
Well, I mean, I'm just being me. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't me, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm just being myself. That's all I can be, and that's what it really means, accepting who I am, and just being me. It's a part of who I am. There's no, I don't think, I mean, I could try and give like some kind of explanation, but really and truly, when I think about it right now, I'm just being me, and that's what it is. I don't think about tradition, I don't think about legacy, I don't think about any of those things, I just be myself.
All right.
And then the world see what it sees, and, decipher it how they want to decipher it.
Well, going along with that, you being you, it's, I absolutely understand that, but I also understand in children's books, I was really surprised to learn that with most children's books, authors have very little contact with their illustrators. Was that the case with you, and was it difficult to kind of let somebody else tell part of the story?
Well, in 2025, it gives us a great opportunity to reach out to people who's not in our vicinity in terms of artwork. So I feel like with that opportunity, you take that opportunity and you meet people from, Europe, from Brazil, you check art from all over, and then you choose which one feels the best. So it really doesn't matter if I met them in person, but I'm communicating with them about the art and how I feel about it, But we never meet in person. But nowadays I've never met you in person, but we have a good conversation.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
It works. It works now. It kind of works. We kind of accept the technology and understand it, and just let's work with it, because we won't be able to. Without that, we wouldn't be able to get a different perspective from all across the world, and choose one,
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah. That's, I just love that attitude of, hey, we're here and you're there, I'm here, and we're getting together and let's see if we can get along.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, it can work. As long as you can make it work, it will work,
Yeah. Now, one of the things I learned in my research is that you are the dad of 7 kids. That was my goal, but then after my second kid came, my wife's like, "No, I'm done. I'm not doing any more of that." Was it any kind of story time moment that really stands out when you were sitting down and reading to your kids or singing to your kids?
Yeah, well, in my, growing up myself, it's kind of a tradition. Growing up, it was storytelling. It wasn't reading books, but when I was growing up in Jamaica, my grand-aunt would tell us stories, old folk tales, some scary, but very funny. We have a character named Anansi, who's this spider, and he's very mischievous. So we used to hear stories about him. And when I had kids, my younger kids actually, because my older kids are in their 30s now, and with my younger ones, with the help of my wife, I kind of got into reading with them, because I never grew up anybody reading to me. It wasn't just telling stories with your mouth.
Right.
But with my wife and these younger kids, I got into reading, and they love reading, and reading is so good for the kids, and the fact that, especially now, they still love reading, and they don't need I'm lucky because they can do without an iPhone or an iPad or something. They have a book, and they want to have a book because I started reading with them from they were young, and they like it. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that we force. And you read to them, and them start like it, and then they take up the habit as well. So it's by example, and I love reading them. I'm reading The Giving Tree, which is one of my favorite books that I used to read, and it was sometimes funny because when I read to them, I was learning too from the kids' book, as an adult. So I was also into it too, So yeah, it was fun. It's funny.
Yeah. I had so many memories of my kids and me sitting down. I made a living performing educational magic shows at schools around the country for 35 plus years, and I remember coming home after driving from Philadelphia back home to Boston, and my kids, I have a speech impediment. It was bad when I was a kid, but it comes out every once in a while now. But my kids, they would know it. And when I'd come home from those long road trips, they'd say, Poppy, come down, sit down, read us a book. And then they'd pull out Dr. Seuss' Fox and Socks. And those are the letters that I would have trouble with. And it took me a while to figure out why they were doing it. But it's like, yeah, this is intentional.
That's kids, right? It's still funny.
Yeah.
Kids.
You know, one of the things I've great memories. I've been a big fan of your music for an awfully long time, and you've been in the industry now for decades. You know, most artists. My daughter has a degree in music business management, and you know, she chose that instead of being a performer because she said to me, "I want to have a long shelf life." Most artists don't have that long shelf life. How do you think you've been able to, you know, stay relevant and stay in the spotlight for so long?
You know, with me, it's always new. It never gets old with me. It never gets old. It's like it's always new, and I'm always excited about it. Creativity and creating, it teaches you something else about the world. And the only reason why I keep doing it is because I keep creating. And when I create, it's like it's a very I feel connected to the universe in a way. I'm not, because I don't create like, I don't sit down and think about creating. Creativity comes to me and then I elaborate on that creativity.
Wow.
And so it just feels really good. And yeah, it's always, and I'm always, my mind is so open. I'm always evolving. I'm always growing. I'm always learning. I never stop. It doesn't stop. I'm still evolving. My mind is still evolving. I haven't reached a place where, all right, this is it and this is what it is and it's not going to change. No, I'll keep an open mind. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just those, yeah, it's always new to me. Like every day is a new day.
You know, as you're talking, it reminds me of a book that I read. I think it's called Big Magic, and basically the author is talking about that creativity doesn't necessarily come from us, but it comes to us.
Yeah.
And the most creative people are the people who are just open for those ideas.
Yeah.
And the idea lands, and you either act on it, or if you don't, the idea goes somewhere else.
That's true. That has happened. Yeah. But you know what? When that happened, I appreciate that I had the experience. Like, not every creativity have to be a product or a song or a book. Some stuff you can just experience it and enjoy it. You know?
Our full conversation with Ziggy happened on July 10th. So go to readingwithyourkids.com and search July 10th to listen to the entire conversation. Right now, we're going back to April 15th and listening back to our conversation with Christina Perri. Join us right now from Los Angeles in beautiful California. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut children's picture book. It's called 1,000 Years. Please welcome to the show singer, songwriter, and now author Christina Perri. Hey, Christina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Delighted to have you on. Tell me, I was reading some of the lyrics to 1,000 Years, and I'm not a mom, but I'm a dad, and I can absolutely relate to what you're writing.
Oh, thank you. That was my hope for the book.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the book. I'm not going to try to recite your lyrics because I'll mash them up, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it much better than I.
Sure. Well, so what I did for this book is it's inspired by my song, 1,000 Years, but it's not identical to the song because I feel like it's really hard to, when you're putting a little kid to bed and holding them, like, it doesn't make sense to say, like, I have died every day waiting for you. I feel like that's a little harsh. So I went back in and sort of reimagined, like, what is that? What am I actually saying there? That's very dramatic and it sings fine, but like, I'm really just saying I've spent every day waiting for you. I've waited my whole life for you. And so I kind of went into each part of the song like that, with that filter, and was like, okay, how would I say this to my child versus, all those years ago, I was singing about a wedding between two vampires. You know, it was very different. So now it's like, you know, the love of a parent to a child. So it was really cool to get to do that. It was really fun to sit down with each part of the song and the verses and the choruses and be like, okay, how does this tell a story and what story does it tell? Because so many people are so connected to this song, and I feel so grateful to be part of, you know, people's wedding day, people's, you know, birthday, people's, you know, cute videos of their puppies and kittens and, you know, all these things they use this song for. So I was like, you know, I felt a great honor, but also like I had to do a good job and do it justice to turn it into this now children's picture book. So I think I did a good job. I think it mixes the lyrics with a story and basically just describing in this book the first couple years of my child's life and letting her know how much I love her as she grows and goes off to school. So it's like, you know, it's a bittersweet moment, but it's filled with eternal love.
Yeah. I love that. It's interesting you were talking about, you felt a responsibility with the book. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to write a cute little book. It's like, there are a lot of people out there that love this song and the feelings behind it. I have to do a good job.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I mean, I honestly can't take much credit. People ask me all the time, like, you know, can you believe it has like 2 billion views or 1 billion streams or all these things? And I'm just like, no, I can't believe it. But also that's not me. That's not like, that's everybody else. Like I can't take credit for that. Everybody who listens to the song, streams the song, buys the book. Like, I'm just grateful that people love this little tiny piece of art that I made all those years ago in 2011. And they have given it life. They keep breathing new life into it as like, no, this is our wedding song. No, this is our baby song. No, this is our baby's book. You know, like, I don't know what's next. We'll see. We'll see how it evolves. But like, I definitely feel a sense of, I mean, mostly gratitude that people, you know, feel so connected to this thing. But yeah, I can't take all the credit. I really feel like I'm being of service to the fans of this song.
Yeah. I really love that. I remember there was a famous Boston band when they were just coming up, and they had a huge hit, and I went to see them as they were opening up for a bigger national act at the time, and everybody wanted them to sing their hit song, and they said, no, we're tired of that. And that was disappointing to say the least. But I've heard that from other artists. It's like, oh, that's 10 years old. It's 15 years old. How did you keep breathing new life into the song and now into the book for so long?
Well, I think because I've let it evolve. I mean, to be fair, if I think about, you know, when I sing Jar of Hearts, which was my first single from 2010, you know, when I sing that song, I do feel like it's 2010 when I sing it because it's never changed. It's always been the same, and it's the same feelings and emotions. And, you know, when I play it on stage, it brings me back. Whereas what's really fascinating is what you're pointing out. I've never really even thought about it this way, that this song, because it's evolved over all these years, it doesn't feel like it's going backwards for me. It feels like, you know, each new season of my life, the song has taken on a new life of its own, and then in that way makes it feel a part of this new version of me and this new version of me. Because as I was, you know, like I said, I wrote it for vampires back in 2011 when that was my favorite book and my favorite movie. And then I grew up and I got married. I fell in love. I had babies. You know, my life kept changing. And then in real time, the song was sort of growing up with me, which is crazy to think of. I mean, it's a song, you know, but like, if you really zoom out and look at it that way, it's really interesting that it doesn't feel old to me because it has grown up too. And so I wonder if that's the secret. I wonder if all those bands that, you know, hate their first singles, like, should just keep reimagining them every couple decades, you know, or every so often, because it would maybe make them feel closer to it. So I still feel very close to the song, to where I don't feel a departure from who I am right now when I sing it. I feel it's even cuter. Like, it keeps getting cuter to me. Like, the fact that I laugh with my friends because I was like Miss Jar of Hearts with the combat boots and the angst and the blonde streak in my hair and I'm dating all these terrible guys. And, and they're like, could you ever imagine like going back in time and telling, the 23-year-old version of you that like in 15 years, you're going to be singing songs to children and like having a children's season, of your life. And I'm just like, it's hilarious to me. I'd be like, no way that would be me. But like, it feels so right. I love being a mom. I love my daughters. I love the gentleness and like the sweetness that comes with, singing this song in this way. It's really enjoyable for me, which I feel like that also has to happen for an artist to want to do it. You know what I mean? So it must not be enjoyable anymore for some of these artists that don't like their biggest hits. They're probably just like, I can't find fulfillment or joy in performing it. But for me, I feel very lucky that I have yet to not feel joy in performing 1,000 Years.
That's wonderful. Tell me what was the reaction of your kids the first time you sat down and read this book with them?
So it's really cute. My oldest is 7, and she's the little girl in the book because we started working on this book really almost 4 years ago. It's been a long time. And so Joy Ruiz, who is the illustrator, who is just the sweetest person on earth, she followed my music already. She followed me on Instagram. She kind of saw me becoming a mom. So she knew I had a daughter, Carmela. She knew I had that my daughter had a little bunny that was always in every photo with her. Like, she really pulled from my life to start creating this book. And so all those years ago is how old Carmela looked when we started. And now Carmela's 7, and I have another little girl who looks just like Carmela, who's the same age as the girl in the book, who's 2.5. And so her name is Pixie. And so she thinks that the girl in the book is her when Carmela knows it's her. So the two of them love this book because they each think it's them, and they like, feel so, I don't know, proud of it, because it's like, look at me and mommy, look at me and mommy. And so what's wild is now my 7-year-old reads it to my 2.5-year-old. So like, I sit there, like, I've been reading picture books to them their whole lives so far. And now my 7-year-old learned to read this year. She's in the 1st grade. And so now she'll read it, and we'll sit there and like, what? Like, what is life? Like, that's the cutest thing in the whole world. I can't even handle it.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love that image. And that's what we're all about here, is encouraging families to read together. And what a sweet picture. Your daughter reading to her sister. And I imagine, I mean, people listening to this can't see, but you're beaming as you're telling me the story. You just, all lit up. Yeah. You talked about working so hard to transform the song into a book that kids are going to love. Was that a fun process for you, kind of telling stories in a very different genre?
Yeah, honestly, it was. Oops, did I lose you?
Oh, no, I'm still here.
Okay, my computer just shifted. There we go. What was I just going to say? You said, was it difficult? No, it was so enjoyable for me because I've never done this before. And so I feel like anytime an artist gets to do, I don't know, a new form of art, like it was exciting and sort of thrilling to see if I could. I feel like a lot of people have said to me how hard children's books are because they're so short. And I was thinking, well, songs are really short too. Like, I'd imagine if I was a novelist or if I was like trying to make some gigantic story into a children's book, it might be harder. But I was already taking a tiny song and turning it into a tiny book. So I feel like it was not a challenge for me in that way. It was really fun, like I said, to reimagine, but the lyrics were already there. I just kind of had to move them around like little puzzle pieces and have it tell the story. So I really enjoyed it, but I think also the most fun was going back and forth with the illustrator, because here she is bringing my vision to life in a visceral way, and like the colors of this book are just so extraordinary to me. I mean, I see kids' books all the time. I'm literally reading them every day. And like, I just love the tone of this book. Like, there's one page that's my favorite, which says that I have spent every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I'll love you for 1,000 years. It's basically the chorus. But it's a double page, and she's like in the night sky, the mom, and her little daughter's on her back with wings. And it just feels so sweet to me. Like that page feels like the whole tone of the whole thing. Like the song, I have lullaby albums for my daughters, and it feels like that page. Do you know what I mean? Like visually, I feel like she just like nailed this, this essence that I have now singing to my daughters, and like what it would look like. Like I always think, if I close my eyes, what do I see? And it's like that page. So that to me was the most fun part, was going back and forth with Joy and her being so wonderful and collaborative. I mean, I feel like I actually heard a lot of writers and illustrators don't go back and forth, and they kind of keep them separate for a lot so I didn't know that because I've never done it before. So I was like, no, wait, we've been talking the whole time. And she just kept, making it more and more and more wonderful. And so, yeah, every part of it I really enjoyed. I actually can't wait to do more. I just told everyone at Penguin, because I wanted to wait till this came out, but like I have so many more ideas and I didn't want to say anything until now, but I literally just told everyone like yesterday, like, okay, I have my idea for the next one. And so I really hope I get to do it again.
You can hear our entire conversation with Christina Perri by going to readingwithyourkids.com, clicking the listen to all episodes here. Use the toolbar to search April 15th, 2025. Right now, we're going back to March 25th, the day before my birthday, to speak to television star Tamron Hall. I am so very excited. Our guest today is watching me at my gym every morning. I'll explain that a little bit later. Join us right now from New York City. Our guest is here to celebrate Harlem Honey, the adventures of a curious kid. Please welcome to the show two-time Emmy Award-winning television host and the star of the Tamron Hall Show, Tamron Hall. Hey, Tamron, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Jed. Good to see you. Happy New Year. And I love watching you in the gym. Listen, you are staying focused. You are thriving in 2025. I'm so proud of you. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you. I came home the other day to my wife, and I was complaining. My back is so, all these muscles are so sore. I must have gone too hard lifting weights. And then I realized it's standing on the treadmill at incline 15, holding on for dear life for 15 or 20 minutes.
It counts. I love that you're in Boston. And it's one of the first cities when I launched the Tamron Hall Show that we hit up, and it was so important. They've been great. And that whole area has just supported the show into its 6th season. And it's part of the reason that I even have this book for this kid in my life and all kids everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about Harlem Honey.
Well, as I've shared over the years, my son is now 5 years old, and I affectionately, and I use the word affectionately on purpose, call myself a late to the party mom. I was 48 when I had my son Moses. And there's so many books over the years of being in morning TV and in daytime TV, some 30 years of my career as a journalist that I've read and were enlightening. But as you know, nothing prepares you until you're actually on the field, right? I can think about playing baseball all day long until I get on the field and pick up the bat. It's not real. You can read every book in the world until you get on the field. And so getting on the field of parenthood has just been the most amazing thing. And for me, the Harlem Honey was born after the pandemic, after the shutdown. My son was one of those kids that we call, the pandemic babies, where his life went from cousins and friends and, traveling and walking outside and in and around everywhere to inside with mom and dad for a very long time. And by the time, we started to be social again, and he's just over 1 year old, I noticed how shy he was. In our home, he was bold and he was exploratory and all of these things. And he'd walk out and, hide behind me, which is not uncommon, right? We know this, whether there's a global pandemic or not. Our world is big, and kids are curious about it, but they're also cautious, and that's okay. And so the Harlem Honey was born from the fact that my son's first home was in Harlem, New York. But I wanted to explore this travel series through the lens of this kid who is outgoing, but in a whole new world. He's just moved from Texas, where his grandmom and his family lives. And now he's in New York. It is so different. It is so loud. It's so big. And through the lens of this little boy, I would love to have parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles be inspired to have that conversation that is not uncommon about facing your fears and learning that there are beautiful things in new places and new spaces to be explored. But as adults, we sometimes forget that. So this allows you to support them and erase that notion of you're not afraid, get out there, or don't be afraid, get out there. All of those things are natural. It's a big world, and we've seen it. I'm 55 many, many times, but for kids, it's the first time.
Right, right. That is one of the things that we've talked about, and doing this podcast has really helped me understand. I wish I understood it better when I was a parent, but the idea that, our kids, our 1-year-old, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year-olds, everything is new to them. Everything that they're doing for the first time, things that we take for granted. And I think if we have more empathy for our kids, but also join them in that wonder.
Yes, I love that you said that, join them in that wonder. And a part of Harlem Honey's adventure is a dear friend that he's just met across the street, a lovely neighbor. We sometimes forget, yes, you can talk to a neighbor. You can have community, right? And he meets a neighbor and they explore Harlem and all of its beautiful things, the Apollo Theater, the iconic Sylvia's Soul Food Restaurant. And when I was creating this book, my whole goal really is to have the Harlem Honey continue to travel to other places. Go to Boston, go somewhere out of your lane and explore. And so for me, that was the inspiration. That's been the fun part of it. I can tell you the first time I got on a plane, I was 7 years old. I went to see my uncle Tommy, and I'm Southern kid, so my aunt Mabel, and we went to see them straight out of Wizard of Oz, Kansas. And I flew on a plane. I was 7 years old. And this was back when you could go to the carnival and win these big plastic banks. And mine was a poodle, a big plastic pink poodle. I don't know why they didn't give me a soft stuffy, but there I am on the plane flying to Kansas. And I'll never forget that feeling. I'll never forget it. And when my son talks about, oh, Mom, remember when? And he's only 5. I was like, yeah, of course I remember when. It was the other day. But this book, Harlem Honey, his friends, his adventures, really is a love letter to curiosity. In the forward, I say, to the curious kids out there and the patient parents who know why and understand why. Why is that very word, why, so important? And I love it in people. We were just talking, Jed, I'll tell everyone, you talked about meeting someone new the other day and you're hoping to work with them again later. And I said, that's a beautiful thing. When I'm hiring for the Tamron Hall show as the executive producer of that show, one of the things that I love most is curiosity. I love when a young producer or an intern or someone walks in and they're, wait. And they're not afraid to be curious. Sometimes we assume that curiosity means you're not studied or that you don't know, or there's a negative association with asking why. There's a joke about kids. Are we there yet? Wonder why they're asking that, right? And so for me, this is about curiosity. It's about exploration. It is about the innocence of wonder. And the Harlem Honey explores this, and I hope to take him around the country to explore neighborhoods and communities of all backgrounds. I'm from Texas, and Harlem Honey's from Texas, but he ends up in New York City. What a leap for a kid. And that's the joy of it.
What a leap for a kid. It's a leap for an adult, too.
Listen, I remember, Jed, I can tell you step by step the day I moved to New York when I went to college, Philadelphia, 1,528 miles from my parents' door in Burleson, Texas, to my door in Philadelphia, Jones Hall. 1,500. I am 55, and I still remember that number. That's what it means to travel and explore and learn that there are beautiful things in new faces and new people. And I think that more than ever, that's an important message. I grew up in a small town where I knew all of my neighbors. My parents knew all of our neighbors. And I know that sounds like some Gen X nostalgia or baby boomer nostalgia from back in the day, but it's true. And I love so many things about this journey with my son, but I love when he, greets the guy who, works at his school and he's like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, or hi, he is joyful about meeting new people. And I think that's something that has been a learning process for me, like so many other new parents. I'm like, get out there, go, 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 go. And then I learned that wasn't the right thing. And so this is a part of me sharing a little bit of what I've learned having a child who absolutely I remember one day we were walking and he's maybe about 4 and his hands were sweating. His body was reacting at such a young age to this new moment that I took for granted, and I was like, it's okay. And, through books that I've read, got on my knees, eye to eye. I'm going to start crying. I'm so emotional because I think it is easy for us to forget it. So I want this book to be a fun read. I want, as I said, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends to be reminded, even at our age, of what it feels like and what it felt like.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm really impressed with, and it's a very different perspective than almost all of the authors who've come on, it's very clear from our conversation that you have written this book with the adults who are going to be reading it in mind just as much as you've had the little ones who are going to be hearing it in mind. I hope that was English. I'm not quite sure it was.
Oh, listen, I get it. I'll tell you, that's why I like kids' books. You can get away with these things. I'll tell you, that's exactly the case. And I think it is because 30 years of being in morning TV and having the great honor of meeting some of the, best children's writers, best minds in the world of understanding how to raise a child. And also my mother. Listen, my mom was a 19-year-old single mom when I was born, and she poured love and belief in me while also getting her a degree to become a teacher. She's fighting for me and fighting for her own future at the same time. And she's lucky, and I am lucky enough to say that, this is where our journeys brought us together. And for me, writing this book with all of the knowledge that I've been able to receive from the wonderful people who write about raising children, it's allowed me those moments of pause. So for this book, it was also from my perspective.
Wow, 2025 was absolutely a wonderful year for reading with your kids. We've had international comedians, we've had pop and music stars, daytime television queens, and right now, queen of streaming, Netflix star Aria Mia Loberti. We first heard this episode on November 28th. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called I Am Ingrid, The Adventures of the World's Greatest Guide Dog. Please welcome to the show, Aria Mia Loberti. Aria, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Delighted to have you on. Tell us about Ingrid.
Oh, it's just it's an exciting adventure. I'm so glad to be debuting this as my first book. It certainly wasn't the book I intended to be writing at this point, but it's so wonderful because it is a true story about my real dog that I received about 8 years ago now from a wonderful organization called Guide Dogs for the Blind. And I actually grew up with low vision, so using something like a cane was never really the biggest help to me because I could see some things, but not everything. And I wanted that sort of fail-safe partner who could work with me. And so this wonderful organization partnered me with Ingrid, who was trained for about 2 years. And this is the story of her training to be a guide dog. And it's really meaningful for me to get to share this now with this audience because, Ingrid's about 10 years old now. We've been together, like I said, for 8 years. My vision's actually been corrected. So to be able to share this story and to be able to go all around the country and read this book, to rooms full of people, I met almost 5,000 people on my tour, is just this wonderful experience for me to get to celebrate that time in my life and to be able to move forward with like a new identity and a different perspective on life. So it's been really a wonderful experience and such a great thing to get to share this with my real dog, which is amazing.
That is amazing. And first off, I'm delighted to hear that your vision was corrected. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, not what I expected at all, but yeah, definitely an interesting process of, learning how to be a sighted person and all of the work I've done up to this, really bringing it together in such a way that, hopefully my story is a reminder to people that you don't know what life is going to bring to you. And sometimes there's just these really amazing things waiting around the corner, and they might not be what you expect or what you want, but you can still take such good things from them. So it's been really cool to get to share that with people.
boy, there's so much there. I love that you're reminding us that we don't know what life is going to bring us. I've shared on the podcast in the past, I had an experience a couple of years ago where I missed the step, landed on my feet, and ended up in a wheelchair for 3 months. Thankfully.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you never know what's happening. Oh my gosh.
And you also said something that I think people would be surprised to hear, is that it was hard work to learn how to be a sighted person. It makes sense to me, given my experience, but I think that there's some people out there might be thinking, what do you mean you had to work to learn how to be a sighted person?
Well, I think what's so cool, especially about this book in particular, is, the reason why I really was excited to write the story is to share with people that feeling that not many people get to experience of, like, for the first time, you take a hold of your dog's harness, and for the first time, you can get around the world without having to worry or without having to stress. And so to look at that moment in my life 8.5 years ago now, and then the moments that I've had collectively over the last 1.5 years, it's so interesting to compare them because, I was born with this eye condition. So for like 20 something years of my life, I'm getting around learning these particular skills, and you're learning how to like use all of your senses. And then what little bit of sight that I did have, like I learned how to use that to the fullest. And then you still have obstacles because the world is set up for people who can see. So you have to learn how to do things in a world that's just designed to not agree with your system. And so all of a sudden, then you get this dog and you're going through the world and everything is so wonderful. And you have this feeling of like being open and free, and you have this amazing partner. And now that I'm comparing that to like now, it took a lot for me to learn, because your brain doesn't almost catch up to the fact that you can see, at least for me. I mean, different people will have different experiences, but like, understanding that and working with my therapist and my eye doctor and like just getting used to things has been really difficult. But like those steps are very similar to the first steps I took with a guide dog, but in a different way. So being able to look back on this story and share, like, there's a beautiful spread in this book of me going down like a city street and I'm like leaping, and Ingrid, my dog, is in front of me, and I just look so joyful. And then being able to find that joy in other ways in my life over the last year has been interesting, but there's also been like a real grieving process, because this way that I saw the world before was so beautiful and profound, and now I've had to let it go. And the good thing about this story too, and about this dog, is because like we can still be a partnership. She's still my dog, and now I get to just share this amazing story with people. So I've been very grateful for that opportunity.
That's incredible. Tell me, does Ingrid know that you're sighted? And, did you sense any kind of change in your relationship?
No, it's so funny too, because I think she has no idea what's going on. But our other dog, who was actually a guide dog reject, but don't tell her, our other dog is very aware of what's going on. She used to kind of block me every time. We have a lot of stairs in our house, and every time we'd go to the stairs, she would block me. And I'm like, well, that's the school dropout, but Ingrid has no clue. And I mean, I started writing the book the precise week, in fact, that I got the contacts, which was a tool and the updated technology that allowed my vision to improve. So literally the moment I started working on this book was the moment things started to change. And I'm like, what would the story be if I had to sit down and write it now? Because I end it when I get the dog. And I'm like, would I have ended it in a different spot? But I don't know, because she doesn't know what's going on.
That's so cool. I'm fascinated by the things that we can train our animals to do, especially our dogs. To be able to, help a person with vision issues navigate the world. There's another author who's been on the show that I actually met in real life, who has a dog that can sense when she is going to have a seizure. And
That's so cool. Yeah.
it blows my mind. It's like, wait a minute, how does a dog know when we don't know? You know, and then just the things that they do with them for assisting in law enforcement and whatnot. Dogs
Yeah.
are so awesome.
It's so cool, and it's so cool to get to see, like, I always talk a lot about, especially with acting and with now writing, like I talk a lot, especially to kids, about like following your dream, and you don't just have to like wish it, you have to go out and do it and follow your dream. And I think what's so cool about this is that it shows us that like dogs have dreams too. Like they have like a sense of what they want to accomplish in life. And for some dogs, it's going to be like what Ingrid did, and she loved it from the minute she was a puppy, and they start when they're like 6 or 8 weeks old to see if they have the skills. But like they think it's just a game, and they find like what works for them. And sometimes they'll career change them to go off to like law enforcement or to work for people with diabetes, things like that. And I'm like, each dog sort of has their own path, and they know what's best for them. And I love that kind of instinct. I think we could all learn a lot from that, because it's so amazing that they know intuitively like what's good for them and what's going to make them the happiest. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. Now, one of the things that I learned, I produced many years ago, back in the 80s, before you were even thought of. I produced a disabilities awareness video called Meltdown, the Walls to Separate, and one of the actors in the show was a keyboardist named Jerry Mack, and he had a guide dog. And I didn't know before we started working together that I wasn't supposed to pat the dog, because I love dogs, and so my instinct was to go over and pat the dog and all this. And Jerry had to let me know in unknown certain terms I was making a mistake.
Oh no, yeah, it's very true. It's one of those things that I think if you're not sort of in on it, you don't know, because you're just like, oh, it's a dog, and obviously a very well trained dog.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, oh, you should like. The petting shouldn't be a big deal because they're trained, but like actually, and one of the cool things getting to teach kids that have been like in and out of elementary schools and stuff is getting to teach kids, like when her harness is on, she is working. So that means that we all have to play a part in our community to make sure that like the environment is safe, meaning that we're not petting them, we're not offering them food or like crouching down in front of them. But like when the harness comes off, you just have a kind of crazy Labrador. So it's been really interesting because I don't want to say I wasn't aware, because like I definitely knew not everybody knew it, but going into the schools and also seeing like the adults don't know that, and the kids, in a lot of cases, the kids already know. So that's been really funny, but it's been really cool because people are like, oh, you really have the best of both worlds. Like she's so obedient and she's good at her job and she loves to be able to like go places and sort of help you, but like at the same time you get to go home at the end of the day and take the harness off, and you can play, and other dogs can play with her, and everybody can pet her, and it's just this wonderful combination.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show, which will be the Best of 2025 Part 2. Hey, if this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with one of your friends, someone you love. Also, we'd really love it if you could leave us a 5-star review, and also please be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you find your shows. Want to thank everybody who made today's show so wonderful. Our all-star cast, Ziggy Marley, Tamron Hall, Aria Mia Loberti, Anh Do, and Christina Perri. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are amazing. You're showing up for your kids, for your family, and for us. And you're making the world a better place. Every time you read with your kids, I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.